Roswell's events in 1947 sparked global curiosity about unidentified aerial phenomena, and conversations about unusual sightings have continued ever since. Decades later, an even more intriguing account emerged. 3 young girls reported encountering a being with glowing red eyes and slick, oily skin, an experience far beyond anything they expected. Could this have been connected to a UFO incident, or was it simply an extraordinary chain of events? In January 1996, Brazilian authorities were alerted by the North American Aerospace Defense Command that radar had detected an unidentified object northeast of São Paulo. Soon after, reports claimed the object had come down near the outskirts of Varginha, a city in Minas Gerais. A local farming couple, Aurelina and Eurico de Freitas, happened to witness the event. Eurico was starting his workday, while Aurelina was preparing breakfast when their normally calm cattle suddenly bolted in fear. Their unusual behavior drew Aurelina to the window, where she saw a strange craft hovering silently in the sky. Although startled, she called Eurico to witness it with her. They described the object as roughly the size and shape of a school bus, moving slowly without making any sound. The craft appeared to be in trouble, releasing white smoke that drifted around it. Minutes later, it descended and settled quietly at the base of a nearby hill. The Freitas couple watched in disbelief, unable to connect what they saw to any known aircraft or natural event. On the far side of the hill, a university professor named Carlos de Souza also observed the object. While driving, he noticed a large cigar-shaped craft about 300 to 400 meters above the ground, trailing thick white smoke from its rear. When it dropped to around 100 meters, it briefly lifted again, as if trying to regain control, but soon fell with great force. Carlos, unaware of UFO stories, believed a plane had crashed and rushed to help. Instead of wreckage he expected, he found debris scattered across the area, and a sharp ammonia-like odor that irritated his eyes. Examining the fragments, he noticed they looked like aluminum foil, but behaved differently. A piece he rolled into a ball immediately returned to its original shape, a property unlike any material he knew. As he tried to understand what he was holding, several Brazilian army trucks arrived quickly. Soldiers ordered him to leave and secured the area. Carlos later gave a brief interview about what he saw, but then withdrew from public view for 26 years. Investigators continue to question what he witnessed that led him to remain silent for so long. If the incident had concluded at that moment, it might have slipped quietly into the past, supported only by a few unclear accounts from unidentified witnesses. However, the story soon took an unexpected turn. On January 20, 1996, 3 young women, from 14 to 22 years old, Lilian Silva, Valquíria Fatima Silva, and their friend Katia Andrade Xavier, claimed to have encountered a strange creature with large red eyes and dark, oily-looking skin in a vacant lot in Varginha. Lilian led the way, while the other 2 followed close behind. As they approached a wall, she suddenly stopped, startled by a figure crouched nearby. Her reaction drew Katia and Valquíria forward, and they too saw the unusual being. They later described it as having brown, smooth skin, large red eyes, and 3 small bumps on its head, with no visible hair or clear expression. Its arms were thin and tucked tightly against its legs. The girls felt they were being noticed by them, and seemed just as tense and uncertain as they were. The 3 hurried home and shared everything with Luisa Silva, the mother of Lilian and Valquíria. The experience left them deeply shaken, and although the being had vanished when Luisa accompanied them back to the spot, she still believed their account. What convinced her most were the strange footprints on the ground. Each one showed only 3 toes. Similar to Carlos's earlier experience, all 4 noticed a strong odor in the area. The girls compared it to the scent of rotten eggs, while Luisa described it as even sharper and longer lasting. And the death of Officer Chereze. After the girls shared what they had witnessed, military vehicles returned to the area. Residents of Varginha said it was the first time they had seen soldiers so heavily equipped with weapons and ammunition, as if they were preparing for a major operation in the city. Streets were blocked, and armed guards prevented anyone from crossing the restricted zone. Once the area was secured, the search began. Officer Marco Chereze and his partner Eric Lopes received orders to patrol the location where the girls had seen the creature. While they were on duty, a small figure suddenly ran across the road in front of their car. Marco stepped out quickly, caught the being with his bare hands, and took it to a nearby hospital. At that moment, the creature released a substance with strong toxicity, and some of it stayed on Marco's skin. He thought little of it at first, but not long after, he began to feel unwell. Over the next 2 weeks, his condition grew worse, and he eventually had to be hospitalized. Cesario Lincoln Furtado, one of the doctors who treated Marco, explained that the medical team ran every test available but could not identify the cause of his illness or find an effective treatment. The only clear result was that Marco's immune system had completely failed. On October 10, 1996, at only 23 years old, he was moved to the intensive care unit and passed away 5 hours later. Because the cause of his illness was unclear, the hospital considered performing an autopsy. However, his sister Marta Tavares remembered a strange response. Although the official report listed his medical condition, many people still believe Marco may have been exposed to an unknown organism during the encounter. The theory may seem unlikely, but Marco had direct contact with a strange being without any protective equipment. If that was the case, what about his partner? What happened to Eric Lopes? For many years people tried to reach him to learn the truth about that night, yet none succeeded. Until the documentary team Moment of Contact located him through various connections. According to them, Eric warned that he would drive visitors away, and told them they should stop asking questions. Although he never gave any confirmed information, his strong reaction suggested that the event was far from ordinary, and perhaps something he believed should never be discussed again. If you like this video, don't just stop at the like button. If you're watching on your phone, hit that hype too. It helps the channel out, and I'm excited to continue bringing you more awesome content. Let us go back to January 20th, 1996, the day the officer encountered and captured the creature. According to several released reports, authorities actually detained 2 beings. One was taken into custody by Marco at the scene, while the other was secured by the Varginha Fire Department. On the morning before the girls had their sighting, the fire department received a series of calls from residents who claimed they had seen unusual animals and needed help removing them. Expecting a wild creature, the firefighters arrived at the location but instead found a being with brown, glossy skin and large red eyes. After several hours of careful pursuit, they finally managed to capture it. In the same area where the girls had their encounter and where Marco captured one of the beings, a local family shared another event with the team from Moment of Contact. One night after the capture, while stepping outside to get food, they noticed a large silver object in the sky glowing with a deep red light. They said it rotated rapidly like a spinning disc and remained in place for nearly 15 minutes, as though it were searching for something. Because of these combined reports, many people have suggested that the captured being may have been the pilot of the earlier crashed cigar-shaped craft. If so, the disc seen in the sky might have been part of the same group, returning to locate the missing individual. However, it seemed to appear after the capture had already taken place, raising the possibility that it arrived too late. The captured creature was taken to the hospital, where doctors and nurses attempted to examine it, yet no one knew how to respond. The staff stood around in disbelief, unsure how to proceed. Soon after, military personnel from the Escola de Sargentos das Armas arrived and removed the creature from the hospital. The entire wing where it had been kept was sealed for 2 to 3 days, because the cleaning team could not eliminate the strong ammonia-like odor. In the weeks that followed, one of the firefighters involved in the capture also passed away from an unexplained toxic reaction. His symptoms were said to resemble those experienced by Marco. Around 50 medical and hospital staff members were placed under strict non-disclosure orders, and some were warned they could face imprisonment if they revealed anything. The incident was labeled a national security matter. Reports stated that the Brazilian army, mainly personnel from ESA, supervised the transport of the creature from Humanitas Hospital. It was taken to the ESA base in Três Corações and kept there overnight for further examination. The entire operation was carried out under intense secrecy with a large military presence. After the initial medical assessments, the bodies were reportedly moved to the ESPCX Army base in Campinas for additional study and autopsies. ESPCX was believed to have the proper facilities and experts for such work. Eventually, the bodies were said to have been transferred to the United States Air Force. A Brazilian air traffic controller claimed that 2 U.S. Air Force planes landed in Campinas to retrieve them. News of these events spread quickly beyond the hospital and reached a curious public. The combination of rapid military involvement and whispered accounts from staff created both fascination and concern. Media outlets already following earlier reports intensified their coverage. Journalists arrived in Varginha seeking any detail that could clarify the situation. Authorities refused to provide statements, neither confirming nor denying the claims. The lack of explanation fueled even more speculation among the public. The story soon drew attention across the country, and growing media coverage prompted the Brazilian government to address the situation directly. As questions continued to build, officials held an emergency meeting to prepare a public response. On May 8, 1996, General Lima delivered a statement during a press briefing at the ESA base. Years later, in 2010, an official military investigation concluded that the three girls had actually come across a local homeless man known as Mardinho, who was said to have mental health challenges. The commander of the 24th Police Battalion even presented photographs, explaining that Mardinho, who may have been covered in mud from recent rain and crouched near a wall, was mistaken by the startled girls for something extraordinary. The spokesperson described the entire event as a series of misunderstandings. According to the official explanation, the cigar-shaped object reported in the sky was likely a standard aircraft or a weather balloon distorted by distance and lighting. They also stated that the military vehicles seen around the city were carrying out routine operations. In their words, there was no indication of extraterrestrial life or any kind of crash. Even so, these statements did not fully settle public curiosity. Many observers pointed to inconsistencies in the explanation, raising questions about the military's rapid response and the accounts shared by hospital workers. Local witnesses continued to stand firmly by what they saw, saying their experiences were unlike anything ordinary. As a result, the discussion persisted, fueled by ongoing media coverage and a growing desire for answers. Journalists spoke with anyone who said they had seen or heard something connected to the event. As more people came forward, a different version of the story began to form, one that did not match the government's explanation. The continued denials from officials only increased public curiosity. Witnesses stayed firm in their accounts, even when faced with doubt. Among them were the three girls, Lillian, Valkyria, and Kataya, who consistently repeated what they had experienced. They shared their story openly with anyone willing to listen, but their honesty attracted attention from people who did not approve. A few months after their encounter, on the night of April 28, 1996, at around 9 p.m., the family was asleep when someone knocked on the door. Their mother answered and found four unknown men dressed completely in black. One carried a briefcase, and another held a clipboard. One of the men told her to inform the girls that they had seen nothing, and said the money in the briefcase could only be used outside Brazil. She replied that she could not do that because her daughters truly believed in what they had witnessed. She refused to deny their experience or accept any offer. She then asked the men to leave or she would contact the authorities. The men repeated their demand for silence, but she continued to defend her daughters. After a while, they left without success. Her relatives later supported the girls and maintained that the event they described was real. Carlos de Souza, who had witnessed the crash in the field, was also approached by men dressed in black. He said that one morning while getting coffee at a gas station, two men in sharp black suits walked up to him. One asked if he was Carlos de Souza, and then suggested that it would be unfortunate if anything happened to him, revealing details about his family. Alarmed, Carlos asked who they were. The man replied that Carlos had seen nothing and should say so if anyone asked. He warned Carlos that things could change for him if he did not stay silent. De Souza did not speak about the encounter for 25 years until he shared his story with James Fox in the documentary The Moment of Contact. In the film, James Fox explained that he had located the military driver involved in transporting the creature, referring to him as Military X to protect his identity. During an interview with Joe Rogan, Fox described what the driver revealed. According to him, the being was placed in the back seat of a vehicle and taken first to a small clinic. The doctor on duty reacted with shock and asked that it be removed right away. From there, the being was moved to the regional hospital and eventually transferred to Humanitas Hospital. Military X stated that after it arrived at Humanitas Hospital, he transported the entity to a military base, where it stayed inside the truck overnight. The next step in the operation was its transfer to Unicamp in Campinas, a university known for its prominent scientific community. Witnesses reported that the being was examined there for 1 or 2 days. Soon after American personnel arrived in Campinas, 2 helicopters were seen traveling between Campinas and Varginha, carrying items between the 2 locations. Finally, the object was loaded onto a plane and taken to the United States, where all information about its whereabouts disappeared. Military X also recalled helping move the lifeless body from Humanitas Hospital to the ESA military base. He described doctors gathered around the being, which lay on a stainless steel table inside a container. Only one part of the body was exposed, a foot covered in dark, oily skin with a distinctive V-shaped structure. He claimed that after this stage, the body was transported to a Brazilian military base in Campinas and then handed over to United States personnel, who flew it out of the country. According to him, Brazilian officials believed they lacked the proper resources to handle the situation, which led them to transfer responsibility to the American team. Ultimately, the unwavering testimonies of the three girls established the Varginha incident as a landmark moment in modern UFO history. Their determination to speak openly, even when faced with doubt and social pressure, ensured that the events of January 20th would never fade from public memory. For Lillian, Valkyria, and Katia, that day became far more than a brief encounter. It reshaped their futures, altered how their community viewed unexplained phenomena, and transformed the ordinary city of Varginha into a place forever associated with one of the most discussed UFO cases in the world. Today, the impact of the incident can be seen throughout the city. Varginha has embraced its reputation with monuments and artistic displays dedicated to the sightings, including large statues representing both the UFO and the mysterious being described by witnesses. These symbols attract curious visitors from across the globe and serve as reminders of the story that sparked so much discussion. Over the years, many people who once doubted the event have reconsidered their views. Even the current mayor has publicly expressed his belief that something unusual took place, reflecting the lasting influence of the witnesses' accounts. The Varginha incident continues to inspire debate, curiosity, and research. Was it a misunderstood event, a case of misidentification, or evidence of something far beyond our expectations? What do you think truly happened on that day? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to ring the bell, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. And if you want to continue exploring the mysteries that are hard to explain, check out my video about the stories that rangers reveal about what is going on in Yellowstone that will make you question everything you ever knew about America's most iconic wilderness. Click on the tab that appears on the screen now. Enjoy the video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.